Welcome to the 217 Recovery Podcast.
If you don't make mistakes, you won't learn.
With your host, Cori Winfield.
You know, there was a reason why that didn't work out. And you can look back at it and go, yep, I'm glad that didn't work out how I wanted it, because that would have been horrible.
And co-host, Marney Winfield.
Fairly expensive membership to Gold's Gym when I was in college, but I use that all the time.
It is August 28th, 2024. My name's Cori Winfield.
My name's Marney Winfield.
I'm Jesse Smoker.
And I'm Cori Smoker.
And this is the 217 Recovery Podcast, broadcasting live, recorded from Jackson, Michigan. And you might think, well, Cori, what are you doing in Jackson, Michigan? Like, what's to see there besides the old prison that they only show tours on the weekends? It's a Wednesday. Like, what could you be doing in Jackson? Jesse, what is there to do in Jackson? You have family from here.
So far, I've found there's nothing to do in Jackson.
They do, by the way, though, before we get to your guys' guesses, we saw the nastiest Best Buy we've ever seen in our lives.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, inside, not too bad. I mean, it wasn't the greatest, but, man, walking into it, I thought, like, did Walking Dead really happen?
Yeah.
We just relate to the show? Because, I mean, there was popcorn, there was gum, cigarette butts.
Oh, it's awful.
It's like the driveway of, like, the parking lot they were in, or whatever you want, where people park, parking lot, I guess.
You just park where you want.
Yeah, and I think maybe because there were so many cracks, they're like, well, if we get enough cigarette butts and gum and popcorn and peanut butter, we can just feel that right in Jackson, Michigan.
Yeah.
Like a fair just left there.
Yeah, like when the employees would come up to me because they weren't doing anything. They come up and be like, you need some help? I'm like, well, I kind of did when I walked in. Is any of this on my shoes? You know, like I wanted to like say, can you get the manager? The manager had to walk through the front door too, right?
You would, I mean, yeah, you would think so.
And it wasn't like all day. Like they had just opened like an hour and a half before we got there. So it wasn't like, oh man, that was just all day Saturday traffic.
I mean, where's the district manager at though? At least
Did he quit? Did she quit?
Must
Did they quit?
Something.
It was bad.
I don't know. So we did see that, but you know, that's not really exciting. I'd rather go see a rundown prison, but only the weekend. So what did you see, Marty? What did you guys do, you and Cori?
So we came here with a purpose.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so that's good. So Cori and I were able to attend a training put on by MDHHS, and they invited two kind of keynote speakers, I guess, if you want to call it that, who did some presentation, and we did some obviously interactive training with CAARD, which is Center for African American Recovery Development. Yeah, so the last 2 days we had the opportunity of being involved in that, and it was put on for all the RCOs to attend in Michigan.
Recovery Community Organizations, which 217 Recovery is one of them.
Correct.
Sweet.
So not only did we have the opportunity to really like be in the same room with some of the people that work for other recovery community organizations in Michigan, which was really cool. I really like that about those. So you do a little bit of networking, but also kind of go over whatever topic and materials that they have, you know, that can be presented to us for us to be better RCOs, to be able to implement in our organization with our staff for the people that we serve, right?
Yeah, and we went to one last year, and our friend Caitlin from the Community Recovery Alliance did a podcast with us.
Yeah.
It was me, you, Justin, and her.
Yeah.
And that was fun doing the podcast with her. But yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
You know, they're built as a retreat, so there's like a ministry camp they want you to go sleep at.
You're
or something.
in, yeah. So the platform is like it's like band camp. They literally do hold band camp there and church camps.
Yeah, that's why I was like, that's all right.
Yeah.
You and Cori can go.
They had mess hall.
We'll send a different Cori. And of course, we have Parker too. So, you know, he's our son. For those of you, this is your first time listening. He's our son. He's a little over 3 months old. So somebody's got to watch him. You know, so Jesse and I were like, hey, we'll do this. You know, Jesse's like a lead volunteer for 217 Recovery. And, you know, when I was trying to work out camera stuff, which we will never talk about, Jesse was there to help, so it was really very helpful.
Yeah.
But we ain't talking about that camera. What were the
Ever.
noises that
Ever.
the Ronin 3 was making?
Yeah. So,
Or
but
how hot it got.
the kind of the theme of the discussion was empowering inclusive leadership for RCOs. So basically, talking about like racial equity and the question of kind of like who's in the room and who's not in the room, and how can we what are some of the questions we can ask ourselves about representing different races, right?
Yeah.
Different, being able to be available to serve individuals who, might feel more comfortable with their own, racial person representing them in the RCO. And what does that look like? How prepared or what do we have going on now? What the whys or why nots, that we don't have people in our as staff or coming to receive services, walking through our doors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and just having those kind of like difficult conversations about the whys and why nots. And so it was challenging. It was challenging. Just like challenging talking over our son who's crying in the background.
Parker? No, he doesn't.
He's trying so hard.
If I can ask you a question,
Mm-hmm.
did they talk about, because when I was talking with a man named Richard Tate, actually I did that podcast on August 8th, but I just published it like last week. But I only put like a half hour up, but we talked for like an hour, and there was some stuff that I'm just like, I don't know if people need to hear that. But he was telling me that out in California, there's a new term, like you're not supposed to say Hispanic or Latino. It's like a mix, and I can't remember what he told me it was, but I had never heard of it before. And I told him the story about my friend Scott, who is Native, and he told me like it's very offensive if you call me Native American. Because I'm Native. Like our people were never American. Like we were here. This was our land, so it kind of like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of people think, oh, I'm saying Native American, I'm getting it right. And it depends on the person too, but just don't assume that people throw these words around. But he was telling me one for about Latinos, which isn't Latino. It was really of a awkward word, but I don't know if anybody knows it or anything. But did you guys talk about that kind of stuff?
Yeah, actually, we talked exactly about that stuff. In fact, one of the individuals in it, that was there representing, I can't remember where they were from, mentioned the fact that they were married to a black individual, and that her father-in-law, so her husband's dad, did not like to be referred to as African American because he wasn't from Africa. He was from Ireland. Right, he happened to be black, right, as his race, but I don't even know if I'm saying this correctly. I apologize if I'm not, but race or ethnicity or what have you is he was born in Ireland, right, and that was his roots, but he is not African American.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. And then Cori's on baby duty now. I'll have to swap it over to get her to talk about this stuff, or she can talk about it in a minute, I guess. But that was some of the things that just popped in my head. Was like, are we getting that right? Because they say, and I'm going to say Latino, Hispanic. Word on the street is some of the last people to reach out for help. You don't see many going to treatment. And is that because they don't feel welcome? They don't know. They don't trust the system. They have their own thing going on. It's a huge difference just between the color of someone's skin and how they're raised. My friend Tyrone, he's from Michigan, but he grew up in Detroit. Raised totally different than me. Kim, our friend Kim, the customs that she has and how she grew up is way different than mine. And it goes deeper than just like, oh, different color skin. There are white people from Hartford, Michigan that grew up different than me. It's where are you from and what are the cultures, and stuff like that. Maybe the culture, and again, this is me just throwing out hypotheticals here or just questions, I guess. What are they, and what's stopping them from going to treatment? Do they just take care of it in-house? They just I don't know.
Right.
You know, and that's a huge question. I think a lot of people are going, are we not informing them that there's help for them?
Sure.
Are they afraid that if they went to a treatment center that they would be misrepresented, and next thing you know they're off in some other place? You know, I don't know. It's just a question that'll never be answered today, anyway. Cori, what was your take on the retreat?
Well, going into it, I didn't, because this is my first time as now becoming part of 217 and representing the RCO. I didn't know what to expect. So going into it, I felt a little like, but when, you know, it was a really nice facility that I was held at. I think that there could be a little more like togetherness and networking between the trainings, if that's kind of what I seen. Okay. But then when the training took place, the two ladies that did that for us, Nala and Dr. I don't know her name, but and I don't want to butcher it, but they were very you know, at first sometimes you go to these trainings and you think like, oh, great, you're going to just get all this information. And, you know, sometimes I get sidetracked and I sit there and I'm like, oh, well, now this is boring. But they were very good at keeping everyone engaged and giving out some information and then taking feedback. And they gave some of their personal stories, which was, you know, really cool because that gets you more connected with them, I feel like, and not feel so separated. Because like at first, you know, you go into these things and you think, oh, they're high class, they're a doctor, they know more. But then, you know, at the end of the day, when we talked about it, like they put their pants on the same way we do. And they're just trying to advocate and help us with, you know, learning how to advocate a little better for diversity in the community. Okay. And, you know, I just, from my own situation, like it was just more validating for me, like being more aware of my language when I'm out in public and being even open in my body language just to be approachable and always just to keep learning how to reach everybody in the community that we live in.
And that's key, the community that we live in, because where I live now is nothing like where I grew up. There's different cultures, there's different people. I don't fit in Traverse City. I feel like I don't fit in Traverse City. It's weird. I don't know. I'm not from there. You know, I go to my hometown, Coloma. I try not to fit in. You know, I'm like, I don't want to be one of these people. No, I don't really think that, but I don't know. I've been gone for so long that I'm like, okay, well, I don't really have the same values as the people that live there now. You know, and that changes over time as well. But I think that a lot of people mistake not understanding someone's culture as racism. Take one of my family members. He'd be like, oh man, I was friends with this guy, you know, I worked with him, he was great, and you know, I like all colored people. And he says that to me and I'm like, whoa, what are you, whoa, like you said colored people like that, huh? Yeah, you know, he's colored. And I'm like, huh? But this person's also like 70 years old. He's not meaning it in any offensive way, but that's where he grew up and that's the time he grew up, you know, like that still sticks with him. Doesn't mean he's a bad person. He might not understand. I don't know. And maybe some people like to be called that. I don't know. You know, people that grow up in Detroit, probably different than people that grow up in California. I would bet you money on that one, actually. So you don't really know, like the people that were doing the training, they were from California, but she grew up, where did you say? She
grew up in New York City. Okay. And then the doctor lady, she grew up in Ann Arbor, and then she moved out to Nevada as well. And that's where she met Nala, and they both had actually got sober in Las Vegas.
I knew somebody else that did that too.
I was opposite of that. That's where I went every year to go and drink for 7 to 10 days straight.
I haven't had a chance to move to Vegas to do a radio show, and I said no, because I will do so much cocaine and drinking, I'll kill myself, and then I go to Fort Smith, Arkansas, where I almost drink myself to death. So it was in the cards. Scott had that all set up for me. He's like, well, you're going to go down this hard-ass road, so you pick one. Yeah, so I did. Result was the same. But my friend Robert Pardon, he actually has a podcast called The Recovery Guy. And that's who is from Vegas. And he was like, yeah, if I can get sober in Vegas, that should bring hope to a lot of people. And for those people too, to be there and to share their stories and, talk about diversity and inclusion, I think is awesome. We need to do more of that at the office, I think. If you listen to the podcast called Lots of Laughs.
Well,
I laughed. You were part of that one too.
Yeah, shamefully I was.
Oh, now you're not including me. I feel left out here.
Oh, I was right there with you laughing just as hard as you and Mitch, so I'm not going to deny that. I did say that we should just pack up the podcast real quick and act like we never did this.
Mm-hmm. But then my aunt wouldn't have laughed. And everybody, people were like, man, that's the funniest podcast I've heard in a long time. It was funny.
There was a lot of people that commented and sent out that they got some laughs. So that was, humor. If that's what helped someone on Friday to get a good laugh, then I think, it helped us too. Like where we were all at the end of that week, like we needed that gut laugh and we got it. And then it was shared with others. And so it was a good, fun Friday.
Yeah, I thought so. And we weren't being racist against Justin or anything. But I think he was hurt a little bit by it. But I told him, I was like, look, dude, you are who you are. And the fact that you made so many people laugh, that's pretty cool. He made more people laugh in that episode than I did. So look at it like that. People know who you are. My aunt loves Justin. She's like, that's my favorite character. I'm like, it's not a character. That's Justin. She's like, he's my favorite dude. And she loves him. And he sometimes, I don't think understands that. But it is out of love, and yeah, we have fun sometimes, and it goes back to my old radio days, but nobody likes to be made fun of in a negative way. And the thing I think that hurt the most is he wasn't there to defend himself. So we need to have Lots of Laughs Part 2.
I agree.
So we can play it again and he can explain himself.
Yeah. I think he would enjoy that.
Yeah, I don't think he would. I think he'll turn it down.
I did want to kind of go back to something that you did touch on was so that was kind of some things that we worked through the last 2 days was the inclusion of everybody. So then there was it was talked about now of course I can't remember the name, but so one thing that she talked about was how, we might say well, I'm not colorblind. I see all colors. And so that she was like, okay, but then they turn around and then they make some racial remark or how they might appropriate some people into different class, from behaviors or colors, or sometimes they assume all black people are from African America.
Okay. Jesse Smoker, how are you doing?
I'm doing real good. Wow, honey.
Is that on the continent or is that a country?
Yeah, I haven't heard that one before.
I don't know anybody from African America, but you know what? If they come
supposed to be
through the doors of 217 Recovery, I will welcome them the same. If they're looking for help, and that's the beauty of being in recovery, in my opinion. I don't care what color you are. I don't care who you want to love. You walk through them doors and you're hurting. You got that addiction like I had, and you want some help. Let's sit down. Let's figure some stuff out. Here's what I know. Here's what helped me. Here's what didn't help me. Here's some numbers. We can call them together. I can walk you through the steps. I had to painfully go through this. I had to call the PIHP in Southwest Michigan, SWMBA, and get belittled because I asked for help again. And they told me, well, we just helped you a month ago. What, we think we're going to pay for you to go to an inpatient treatment again? I was just looking for some help.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we send you there, it's not going to help, obviously. So what are we supposed to do? And I'm like, never mind. I'll just sit here and just detox in my bed. Thanks.
I mean, that's the one thing I like about 217 recovery. It's the open door policy.
Yeah.
It's open.
Mm-hmm.
Just come on in.
You can leave when you want to. You know, like I'm not judging you. Like I was there, right? I was right there, man. And like I said, I did the hard work for you. I had to take all those phone calls. I had to get belittled by the PIHP, which shouldn't. And if you call them on it, they'll be like, well, our people went to Michigan and they're therapists. Well, they shouldn't. They shouldn't even talk about what college they went to. Because it doesn't matter. You can read all the books you want. Mm-hmm. But until you're in our situation,
right,
you don't know what it's like, man. No. Oh, I know what it's. No, you don't. You don't. You can't sit there at a therapist telling me, and I've told the story a million times. He was like, I relate what you're going through. Oh, man, the sense of relief I had. Oh, my God, finally, I get a therapist. What's your drug of choice? Oh, I know. I don't have a drug problem. No, I mean, I smoked some weed back in high school. What?
Yeah.
You lost me right there, man. And it pissed me off. You know, so.
Yeah, and that's why only somebody who has, I should say, suffers from addiction and is now sober and is in recovery can only really reach to other people who may not be there yet, because we only know what they're going through because we've been there.
Yeah.
Hands-on experience with that.
It's not a fun one.
No. Like,
I'd rather went to college.
I didn't grow up wanting to be an alcoholic or a drug addict. That wasn't my goal. I think I wanted to be a professional baseball player or something. Or maybe a firefighter. I don't know.
Oh.
But something. Not that.
But I think that's what's good about all of us in recovery and now working in the recovery is that we want to meet the people wherever they're at. And we just want to give them the hope and know and the validation like that we've been there with them and that we're here to walk the path with them.
Yeah.
And you're not alone. Like, when I first started hearing that people thought the way I thought and they could voice that, that's when I was like, wow, maybe these people do know what they're talking about, because I've never ever heard anybody else ever talk about it. I mean, I didn't ever talk about it out loud. I thought about it. I'm like, shit, I tell somebody this, they're going to lock me up.
Yeah.
And then, somebody in a 12-step program started talking the way I was thinking. I was like, oh, okay. Hell yeah. I'll listen to this. But somebody who hasn't been through it, you can't relate. You can't relate to any of it. It's just, how could you? How could I relate going to college? I've never been to college. I don't know. I wouldn't know what to tell you. Yeah, books, those cost a lot, and I know I got to be to a lot of classes, and it's overwhelming. But the experience part of going to college, I couldn't describe that for you. So.
Yeah, they can have sympathy, but they can't have empathy. They weren't in the hole with us,
Right.
I think they can be like, oh, yeah, that must suck, man. That would be horrible to tell your family that, no, you're never going to do it again. And then 2 days later, you go out and do the same exact thing. And then they look at you with this look like you're a dog. They want to kick right out of the house, and
Yeah.
it's like the shame. You know, it's like, oh, I did it. I caused all this with my family. And then we don't even think about it at the time, the actual shame we're causing our family. I didn't know this until maybe I was like 6 months sober. And my mom was like, because I was talking about how like I would go to the store and I would see people. I'm like, oh, man, I don't want to see nobody. Mom was like, how do you think I feel? Like, you were on the radio, dude. Like, people know who you are. And they know all of a sudden you're not there no more. And what happened? Well, Cori got a little problem. And, oh, okay. So then my mom goes to the store and the same thing with my sister. And people are like, how's Cori doing? And some of them love to rub it in because It's just like Josh Hamilton. You know who Josh Hamilton is. Hit all them home runs and the home run derby.
Oh yeah.
Man, I was crying. I was like, man, this is such a great story. Such a good feel good story.
Yep.
And then what happens? He goes out drinking one time, gets on a bar, takes his shirt off, and then it's boo, Josh Hamilton. They love a good story, but they love even more to tear it down.
Oh yeah.
You know, and to be like, I told you it was piece of shit.
Yep.
You know, so like my mom, I think, took some of that too. Like, oh, okay. Oh, Corey's still, he's out there drinking, getting messed. Okay. But now I think she just walks around like pushing that car, like, who's next? Your son needs some help over there.
Yeah.
Because you might want to call my son because he could maybe help your son, but maybe he's busy.
Right.
He's talking at something, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of talking at something, Mitchell O'Brien.
Oh,
Did you see that performance he did on 9 and 10
that was
News?
phenomenal.
Amazing.
If I wasn't holding a microphone right now, I'd clap.
I would too.
But
I think he did a great job
Yeah.
representing.
So too.
I did text him right after I was done watching it. I'm like, dude, you killed it.
Yeah.
I don't know why are you talking yourself down? You did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, there's a program called The 4 on the 4.
Yeah,
There's a question. 4 on the 4. I don't watch a lot of news.
The 4.
The 4. I was on it like 4 or 5 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But they did a story about the International Overdose Awareness Day ceremony that we're hosting, I guess you could say, or putting together. Our friend Nancy Dow and Grizzle and Diane Goodyear, they started it 3 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that. They've lost family members. And so they were like, hey, let's do this on International Overdose Awareness Day. Let's hold the ceremony. And they light candles, play some music. And it's a moving thing and very powerful. And they asked us to do it this year, you know, to kind of host it for them. We were like, okay, we can do that, you know. But one thing for her, I was like, I don't want people to think we just scooped in and just took it over. Like, I'm you know, if we go on the news, because you can go on the news and talk about it. I'm like, how about you go on the news too? Say, hey, we asked 217 Recovery to kind of take this over for us because it was kind of overwhelming, and 217 Recovery puts on good events, so we figure naturally they could do it. And so her and Mitch went on there, and I told Mitch, you know, it's live. It starts at 4. It's called 4 at 4 or whatever you said it was, and he was supposed to be there at 3:45. And I told him, I was like, you might want to get there a little earlier because you guys go on at 4.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure I told him it was live, and then Marney, she talked to him before because I'm like, hey, make sure Mitch knows what to say because there was a time, and I don't remember when, and Mitch, if you're listening, please remind me, where he got up and he said something like, oh, yeah, well, thanks for coming out. Everybody grab a free puppy on your way out. Or it was something. I don't know what exactly it was. But I was like, Mitch, what are you doing? And he was like, I don't know, man. I got nervous and I froze and I just said that. And I'm like, that's not even close. We don't have any free puppies. It wasn't free puppies, but it was something that he said that was like, it didn't make any sense. And I'm like, what are you doing, Mitch? And that's what he said. He got nervous and froze. So I was like, Marney, will you please talk to Mitch, you know, and make sure he's kind of not going to freeze and just start talking about puppies that we're giving away. And you did. And you told them what? That
I didn't think it was, I didn't know it was live. And so I was just, and I was like, no, I'm like, don't worry. Just like ease into it. Stay confident. A lot of it was just a pep talk. You know what I mean? But you'll be fine. And you know your stuff. Don't try to memorize anything. Just go with the flow. Answer, you know, he'll kind of lead the way and prompt you, which he did, you know. It just, but he did a phenomenal job. Like you said, he did
so
great.
Good. So good.
And maybe Marney telling him that it wasn't going to be live calmed his nerves down a little bit.
Right.
And so when he got there and he did it and found out it was live, he just carried on with it. He didn't have to remember that he had to rehearse anything or keep that thing memorized. He just did what Mitch does.
He texted me. He's like, I found out 2 minutes before we had to go on live. I don't think I breathed for the whole time. I almost passed out. I said, well, you did phenomenal, dude. So
you can't see him breathing hard.
Yeah,
because I think that's when he got his breath
I'm
back.
just like, I said, you be good to yourself because I'm proud of you, and I mean that. I really,
great job.
I really am. He represented 217 recovery, phenomenal, and yeah, it was a great showing.
Yeah. So good job, Mitch. If you haven't seen the video, it is on our Facebook. So check it out there. We'll put it on 217recovery.com too, and probably Mitch's page. And the week before that, 7 and 4 news came to 217 Recovery, and the very beautiful, the very talented Marney Winfield was a part of that. How'd that go?
It was great. It was great. I mean, it was what was aired was actually just brief clips from a really good conversation that we had with him overall. So, and I think he did a great job, highlighting kind of the conversation and what it was that we were trying to, have everybody know that the event was happening, the overdose awareness event was happening on, this coming Saturday, and what it was all about. And then Anne had a really moving part in sharing about, her loss and what it means to her to have this ceremony and events like this to make awareness about overdose and how serious, this epidemic is, and bringing awareness to not only overdose, but also that recovery in general is possible. And that's kind of where we came in, and how grateful she was that we were going to be bringing this attention to an event like this, and then also just promoting recovery overall. So it was good. It was good.
Looked good too. And of course, the International Overdose Awareness Day ceremony is in Traverse City, the one that we're putting on 6 p.m. F&M Park. And we're going to start out, Nancy and Diane are going to maybe say a little something. And then we're going to have Josh from Journey Church. He's going to do the opening prayer. We're going to have a little bit of music. We're going to do a candle lighting ceremony. Paula Lipinski from Addiction Treatment Services, she's the CEO. She's going to do a little message. Is that right? And then Adam Newth, Andrew, there's a couple more people speaking. I think there's
Andrew DeVore, David Cantrell, and myself, Cori Smoker.
Cori Smoker. Oh, Jesse, are you aware of this?
I was not aware.
Bring your lawn chair.
I am so excited, and my video camera.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, are you nervous about this?
No, I'm not nervous.
Are you going to rehearse it at all?
No, just going to let it come from the heart. It's the best message.
That agree.
Yeah.
I might have Corey Winfield do a little practicing with me in the office on how you deliver your story condensed to have that message.
I'm surprised Marney didn't just fall out laughing when he said Corey Winfield short speech.
That is not, that's like oxymoron.
I mean, ramble on forever? Yeah, he'll show you how to do that.
Yeah, but you're good at showing other people how to keep it in 5 minutes.
Am I?
Yeah.
You went to a whole 2-day training on how to do that, honey.
I mean, recovery stories, you're like 5 minutes.
Am I good at it, though?
Teaching others? Yeah.
Okay.
Those who can't do, teach.
There you go. Do what I say. Now does that do?
Right.
That'll be my slogan when I run for governor and for president.
That's right.
Those who can't do, teach. I'm going to teach everybody in Lansing how to figure it out.
That's right.
The common sense party does need to happen. That's for another podcast, though.
Well, isn't that why you always say whenever someone should have listened to you, we should need to wear the shirt?
Should have listened to Winfield. Yeah. A lot of people be wearing those.
Right now, I've only occurred one.
Tyrone's got about 7. Justin's got about 100. Mitch has probably about 15. Marnie?
She became a Winfield, so
Right.
that's off the table.
Right.
My mom. Anyway, we could list them all, but it would take all night. The ceremony, though, is going to be a lot of fun, too. That's another thing that we bring to the table, and Mitch mentioned that in his interview, is we like to bring the fun part of everything, too, and things don't have to be like, woe is me, and I think you're going to be like a message of hope, kind of like what we did with the recovery stories, message of hope, but probably I'm sure it'll be different, probably way different, but just to touch those people that are out there that might be struggling, or those family members out there. And we're going to announce something pretty cool that day too, about a new meeting, I guess, or a new group or whatever that we're going to be doing. Yeah. connecting to the community a little bit more. And we're going to announce that, I believe, that night. Is that what we had talked about?
Yeah.
That's good.
It's fantastic.
You can probably put 2 and 2 together. It's going to equal 4. But yeah, it'll be good.
Speaking of solving puzzles, did you guys talk about? I stepped away for a second, but did you all talk about the escape room?
No, we haven't yet. We were waiting
No,
for you.
Yeah.
Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun.
MVP. I would vote for Marney probably. Cori did really solid on that last one.
Yeah.
The box. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody did.
You two are the real MVPs.
Yeah, I just kept getting in the way, going, "Let me see if I can find an arrow on there." And he got,
Well, I don't know. You were counting the bouquet to 50.
in my head.
You did do that.
In my head, what's up?
I don't know. I think it took all 4 of us. I think all of us
We all
together.
participated.
I mean, let's talk about that photo album though and the arrows.
I don't think we ever would have figured that out if we didn't get help on that. Because I couldn't see nothing.
First off, the only thing that we were missing was that very last photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and once we got the clue where to look in that picture,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
all
It
you
was
could
right
see.
there.
And
Yeah.
I said down too, because I thought there was a pizza slice up there. That's what I like. I was like, I think it's down. But then I think we tried down because
Yeah.
there was a combination lock and you had to hit up. And all these photos are like these old timey photos. One was like, they had like a little arrow on it. And some of them, like if they were wearing a white shirt, they would put like a little white arrow.
Yeah.
And then black shirt, they'd use a pin and draw a little arrow. So you had to look for it. And left, so it'd be up, down, left. And you turn the picture and up, down, left, right. And I swear that last one I was like down, and it seemed like we tried it. So I don't know if
But don't forget, if we did add one extra arrow, then you got to hit the top
Yeah,
twice,
so-
and then you got to
3, 7,
start all
yeah.
over. So then we have to go to the beginning,
Yeah.
and then we're like, okay, where's the arrow at in this picture
Yeah.
again?
My disclaimer here is that if we would be able to have like a scrap piece of paper and pencil to like just jot down, it would have been process of elimination. We would have been fine. But like, no.
yeah, it's ESIQ or something. Escape.
Yeah.
It's SkyQroom.com in Jackson. If you're in Jackson or ever thought, man, I want to go to that escape room they're talking about. It was all right. It was
No, it was
a
good.
time.
Yeah. And we made it out
host,
too.
Our host,
Yeah.
Winter,
Phenomenal.
He was adorable.
He was very good.
Wouldn't you say that as a fitting word?
I wouldn't say he was adorable.
Yeah, I think we were a little too much for him in one room, though. But
No.
he handled us perfectly,
Yes.
and he was like, probably he couldn't wait to lock us in that room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Baby Parker, I mean, he was a real MVP
Yeah.
this afternoon too. Mm-hmm. He came out showing up big.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was singing songs to him.
Yeah.
And that's probably what Winter was like, what is going on? And then like it had like a demon like theme to it, and we had to open this like demon
Yeah.
drawer. I don't know, and it had like a board on there and like devil stuff, and that was a little creepy, but it was all right. And it wasn't one of those that you can't solve, you know, like
Yeah.
I think everybody wants to win at it. So like to go to one, you're like, man, I couldn't even get to, because the one we went to in California, Marney and I did. Man, shit! Like it was a nightmare almost. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we were never gonna get out of there.
It was 2 of us,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like we picked the hardest difficulty level, the most difficult level, and there was
We couldn't even make it to the damn place
there
on
was probably
time.
like 20
We went
yeah, there
over.
was like 20 30 puzzles within the
Yeah.
we didn't have a prayer on finishing
Nah.
that one.
But see, me and Jesse, our first one we went to, it was like with 10 people, and we thought it was just too many people trying to like be all over the room when, you know, they tell you in the beginning like all these things that you got to remember, right? And the one thing is like it's one puzzle at a time to get to the next one. So then when you have 10 people in there, it's almost too much, right? Because they're trying to be over here and solve this, and you see all these locks and you think that they should go in order. They don't.
Yeah, I found a prop and I sat on it. Watched everybody else work, you know.
So we should try the Traverse City one.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we should. It
Yeah.
was definitely if you're looking for like team building exercise.
Yeah. No, it was good. Yeah, the Traverse City one was good though. I mean,
my
it
God.
made you really think.
But it's all about like he told us, it's about the communication, everyone working together, because one person's got to look at the pictures while the other person's holding the lock, and sometimes we needed 2 or 3 eyes looking at the picture.
I just thought of something that I wanted to practice inclusion on.
Okay.
And you two, since you just took the training, tell me if this is acceptable or not.
Mm-hmm.
We put in the guys, Mitchell and Justin, they're like buddies. They got their own podcast called White Knuckling It. What if we sent them in together and they had to work together to get out of that room? And we took the timer and we just threw it out the window and said, it's going to take as long as it takes. You get one clue.
Are we going to be the ones that we get to watch them, like in the cameras, and be like,
And we could
that's incorrect.
we can request the video, and then we could like put it as like a mini series, because it's going to be a few hours, so we're going to at least get 3 or 4 episodes out of it. Come back next week to see if Justin and Mitchell kill each other or get out of the room.
Oh my God.
I don't think that's a great idea.
I think it would include them into.
I'd love to see how
Thank
it would go. Well, not maybe exclusively just them, though. Maybe we
Throw Kim in there too.
Well, we could try to see how we all do together.
I think we should all go as a team in there.
Okay.
Staff,
Yeah.
staff
could
and
be-
volunteers, and see how it goes. Yeah.
That's, I mean, yeah.
I want to be the cameraman.
Yeah,
I'll just record it all.
absolutely.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we should.
See if Traverse City will have us. I don't know the name of that place though.
But then I feel like you're excluding yourself from the inclusion of the team building.
I'm creating opportunity for someone else.
No, I don't buy it.
You're the leader of the team. We need you
and
in
by
there.
me stepping down,
Leader
it
of
gives
the
someone
pack.
else a chance to step up to be leader of the team. Sacrificing to record it all.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, at our expense.
No, not at your expense. Well, some of it probably.
We'll manage. We'll manage.
I mean, and if somebody wants to come along, and maybe you're from African America, you're more than welcome to as well. Marney didn't. She
Because
was
we do
here for
have
that.
an open door policy.
I butchered the word, and then he just rolled right over me, and so then all my words just didn't even make sense.
Some people don't
and
want to be referred to as they're from African America.
They don't. And it was talked about like how that we sometimes assume that all
Marnie's
black
thinking, like,
people
huh, I'm
are
trying to put it
African
together.
American, and they're not.
But like,
This is true.
I
be a
don't know.
drop.
See, I got a lot of different feelings on all that. Like, I think it starts with the government. Like, especially when they make you fill all these things out. Are you white?
Yep.
Are you an African American? Are you Native American? Are you?
They're the ones who started it, yeah.
Are you Asian? Are you this?
The government.
It don't matter.
You can choose not to answer those.
And me and Marnie talked in the car both days on the way back here to the hotel to meet you guys in Little Parker about like that this 2-day training of 4 hours a day,
Yeah.
like could turn into, I mean, a whole week
Yeah, this-
of breaking it down. And
But do you think you'd get anywhere though?
I see, and
That's my thing.
She brought this up at the end of today, and it was basically like she said, these are her words. She said, "I feel like we're just now getting to a point where we're actually having these conversations. Like we're getting in a comfortable space with each other, right, as a group, to be able to talk about these things and have these hard discussions and be able to like get real and have like and be open about like." This is what's hard for us. And what about this? And well, what do you think about this? And have you ever thought about it this way? You know what I mean? Because you kind of need to be within a room with the same people to kind of get to that point to where like we can have those talks.
But it's kind of like Jesse said, though, too. It's, what we do in recovery, we welcome anybody. You know, like we have that bond with somebody. But you take me, put me in a room with a bunch of rich people, I'm uncomfortable. And there's, not saying all rich people hate middle class or poor people, but just saying there's some out there that do. And they look down on me, and it doesn't matter if I'm white, black, doesn't matter. You know, there's different levels of classes, there's different levels of culture. I mean, it's a whole different, it's just a big old thing. And you can't make somebody not be racist. You can't make somebody not look down on somebody.
no, but it's just about And so it was like coming back into just the conversations within the RCOs of how can we as a team handle them situations when they are walking into our door. Like, are we, because sometimes it might be that a different race than who we are,
right,
come into our building and say that we don't have nothing to offer them because we're not black or we're not Mexican, so we don't understand their culture. So it was then, how do we as a RCO like handle that? Do we just let them walk back out the door?
We can point them in a different direction if they're not comfortable. But I mean, I'm saying like,
Yeah.
we do the best that we can to welcome them in as somebody in recovery. I don't care where you're from. Like, we have that bond, and Kim and I have talked about it many times. And Kim is from Africa American, or no, Kim is from African America, and I gotta get a drop of that. So, but Kim and I have talked about it many times, and it's like, she agrees with me too. Like, we have a bond that goes beyond racism. It goes beyond culture. I love hearing about Kim and her culture and her fishing. I give her such a hard time about it because fish is gross. But like, just like how she grew up, where she grew up, how she used to clean fish and sell them. That's interesting to me. I never had to do that. I never would want to do that. But that's what she did, and it was fun for her. And like, getting to know somebody on that level is what I can do. But I don't think we're ever turning people away. Has somebody ever came through and been like, "Oh man, you guys don't go mudding. You got nothing to offer me"? They could, because I don't go mudding, But
I think it's just also too, it's where we're located, is that we are located in such a non-diverse community that we don't see a lot of things that Saginaw RCOs are facing, or Flint is facing. And then it was also like empowering like the leaders of different race. And then it was how some of them come, like, even when you go at someone with a different race, there was an RCO that had a recovery coach, and he wasn't doing his job, and he wasn't helping the white people. And so they had to discuss with him about him not doing his job, and he instantly called them racist. And so a lot of the conversation was around, like, how do you handle that? Were you treating him equally? But it was, at the end of the day, it was about him not doing his job.
It was about performance, or lack thereof.
Yeah, he should be fired.
Right. And so then they have to know that it was just about his job. And now he wants to go out and he wants to badmouth him to other people that they're racist. Then
there's nothing you can do about that.
That's right. But they were asking, like, is there something different they could have done?
I don't know. There's a dude running around telling people, "Oh, Cori's been drinking this whole time. The whole time he started 217 recovery."
And I think a lot of it was just is about having awareness, right? And recognizing, like, implicit bias, which everybody has, no matter what.
Yeah.
And it was about kind of also the old school colorblind thing is ridiculous, because if you are culturally competent and culturally aware, that means it's celebrating and recognizing that, yeah, people are African American, people are black, people are indigent, and the BIPOC people, right? People of color, Mexican, Arabic, whatever it is, race, ethnicity. It's recognizing that and saying, okay, that is your culture, that is your community, that is what and I see it. I might not be able to I might not know about it, but I'm willing to learn about it, and I support that, and I recognize it and celebrate it, right? And we're here about substance use disorder, and I can speak to that on whatever level that I can from myself and my own experience, and I'll meet you where you're at, and help you best I can with what I know about you. And if I don't, I'm willing to learn about it or hear about it.
Yeah, but I can't personally. I use Kim as an example. We'll go back to her. I think it would be a disservice to her if I just started pretending like I knew her culture, or pretending like, oh yeah, we're gonna have fish fry Fridays just for Kim. Like
No, absolutely.
But I think that'd be awesome if that's important to her and how she celebrates her culture, practices, whatever it is that's important to her, right? Then we could be a part of that or hold that, right? Hold that space for her and what's important.
Right. And I made her a shirt. We had a playoff. The Lions were in the playoffs last year. And they were playing San Francisco. We threw a party at the 217 Recovery Center. And I walk by the meeting room where everybody was in, and I hear Kim say, "What? There's no chicken? I only came for the fried chicken." And I immediately made her a shirt with pieces of fried chicken on it. And some people could look at that and go, "Cord, that's so racist." But I wasn't being racist. She said it. And it was just so comical the way she said it that I just instantly made her a shirt. But now she wears her shirt around town. People would see that and go, "Oh my God, what is that?" And she laughs and she thinks it's pretty damn funny. And she showed it to her brother and her family, and they thought it was hilarious too because that's just what she said. Now she happens to be black, but that doesn't have anything to do with it. It's just more. She said it. She could have been like, "I came for the crackers." Well, that could be racist, I guess. But I came for the cheese. Okay, there we go. Came for the cheese, and I would have made her a shirt that said, "I only came for the cheese."
But that's just it. And that was another thing we talked about is that sometimes in a situation or where we're at or we're in public, like all of a sudden we're being so mindful of what we're gonna say because we don't want it to be culturally disrespectful or racist and affect anybody. And so we talked about that and how do we remove that, and how do so sometimes it's just about the language. Like my language has to change a little bit because sometimes I let things fly out of my mouth that's not appropriate, and so I'm practicing my language a little better. And another thing I wanted to say is that we were really encouraged to, when we come across a diverse culture that we're not used to, asking questions. Mm-hmm. Why?
Right.
Or
tell me more.
Tell me more.
But what does that have to do with recovery?
Why?
Here,
it has to do with I think what they're trying to pull into recovery is that people are feeling some sort of way, are feeling separated and not feeling included.
Tell me more.
It's like for me, it's real simple. I work a 12-step program that I'm a part of, and that's what I do that works for me. And part of that program is that we find something that we believe in that's, not us. So it could be God, it could be the devil if you want it to be, it could be a cup, it could be all these things. Mm-hmm. You could not believe in anything, you could believe in something, whatever. But the bottom line is do you want to be a drunk Jehovah's Witness, or do you want to be a sober Jehovah's Witness? Like, don't care.
I think what it kind of circles back around to as being an RCO, as being people who were representing a recovery community. So it's just opening our eyes to what is happening around us, and then having them network areas or finding them materials for people that feel diverse or feel like it's only one way.
All I see that is going on in today's world of sobriety and meetings is the lack of people not delivering the message. They're worried about everything else. Or you can't come here because you're part of that organization. You can't do this because you go to that meeting downtown. Or
that was discussed too.
or you can't do this because, you're employed over here.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I've earned my seat. And all I'm saying is it's like Jewish, Muslim, Hamina, whatever.
So
It don't matter to me.
So that was talked about, like the unity of the recovery.
Because all we have to relate to, really in life, all we have is our addiction. Just because I've been sober doesn't mean I'm not an alcoholic. I'm going to be an alcoholic till the day I die. I never am not going to be an alcoholic. I'm never not going to be a drug addict either. So all I'm saying is I don't give a shit if you're purple, if you're blue, if you're Chinese. It doesn't matter to me. I don't feel like I need to learn the Chinese calendar because I want to feel closer to you. I have a way of showing you a better way of living, and you can believe in everything you still want to believe in.
Yeah, I think some of what was brought up was like that our experiences of what we have been through from our past, right? And what, let's say, some of the barriers that stand in our way are different for different people and different cultures, I think is one of the points that they were trying to make. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that can be said on all of our levels, because there are assumptions too, like Cori and I were talking about, is we could go round and round and round and round on some of this stuff, because like people make assumptions about white people all the time and what we have or what we don't have and our privileges that are presented to us. Some of that is untrue. There are mistruths to that all the time, right? Like what's in our invisible knapsack, right? What are some of the things that are automatically assumed? Like Cori's white male, so when you go into a used parking lot, they automatically show you something that's, $65,000. It's like, you don't know that we had an afford $65,000 car, right?
Right.
Like, why are we automatically
assuming
that that's
two
true?
of them.
Why didn't you say, hey, I can afford something that's 15? What do you got?
115.
That's what I'm looking at right now.
And I think, Jesse, I see where you're at, but we're talking more of a bigger picture of not just getting sober, because I think also too, we also see it in some, like even some meetings, like how people feel sometimes they're controlled, and if you're not in that clique, then you're not welcomed.
Right.
So that's where kind of the conversation was going, is about how do we remove that barrier so all are welcome.
Okay, here's one for you guys then. We had at one point a meeting at 217 Recovery that was led by a gay person. He was like, he actually wanted to call it the gay meeting. And I was like, okay, well, I can see my mom looking on the website, seeing the gay meeting. And she would be like, Cori, what are you doing? You're making fun of people. And I'm like, that's what he wanted to call it, Mom. So I'm like, hey, we should call it something else. We called it something else. Then people that normally came to that meeting before it was the gay meeting stopped coming because they felt like it was only for gay people. And so like here we are trying to include somebody, but what now we're doing is excluding people. Now they still could come, and I think they were told that, but some of them maybe weren't, and they thought, oh, this meeting is not for me because I'm not gay. And I don't know. So it's just like you can go out of your way to kind of, hey, this meeting, and then if we had Fish Fry Friday, I wouldn't be there. Nope. Right. So you're excluding me because I don't eat fish. I think it's gross. So it's like you can go out of your way to do something because you think you're doing the right thing, but actually you're kind of hurting yourself a little bit by pigeonholing just this sure. one community. Hey, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. And so, I don't know. But we welcome everybody. I don't know what it's like to be a gay man. I talked to a guy about it, and he was like, man, it's so hard to find love out there. And I'll tell you what, you're not going to find it if you're doing meth. I guarantee you, I'll tell you that. So we'll start there, and I'm not going to pretend I know what's up on Grindr or how to get a man. I'm not going to do that. But I do know the fact that if he's getting messed up, he's not going to find love. I mean, I can guarantee him you will find love if you stop doing that.
Right.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just, I think at the end of the day, it was just about advocating RCOs about that there is these barriers up and educating us on how to remove them barriers or how to have the right language and conversations to get the people to the right sources.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys had a good time, and it seems like you guys learned a lot. I'm sure it'll help the office out.
Yeah.
A little bit. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up. Parker, he said he's needing to talk to us about something. He's in there screaming. So we're going to wrap it up. But thank you for listening. And it was a fun little podcast tonight. We got some serious stuff. We got to joke around a little bit. Got to include some people. Got to exclude some people probably. Maybe, I don't know. But no, thanks for listening. And we will talk to you again at a time of my choosing.
There you go. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Good night, folks.
Thanks for listening to the 217 Recovery Podcast. Listen to over 900 episodes on the 217 Recovery app that's free in your app store or online at 217recovery.com.